This is a slide that talks about the percentage of businesses every year that are a startup business. And it's a simple definition of startup. If a business is in its first year, this is the percentage of businesses in the United States that are within their first year. And you can see that back in 1977, a little over 16% of all businesses were less than 1 year old. Now, well, not now, but the most recent data, 2013, has that number at probably just a little over 8%, maybe between 8 and 9%. So what that means is the number of companies that are what you would consider startups has been diminishing over time. Now, in all fairness, while this may indicate a gradual decline in the number of startups, you have to also realize that in that same time frame, the population of the United States has grown from somewhere in the 260, 240 million range to 360 or 70 million people. The United States has become significantly larger. So if you have a steady state of 500,000 businesses every year forming, every year there's 500,000 businesses that are within their first year. As the total number of businesses increase, because the United States is getting larger, as the total number of businesses increase, even though there's always 50,000, the percentage will, of course, decline. But what this just says is that startups are declining as a percentage of the total businesses in the United States. It's an interesting statistic.
So I have a question on that graph.
Yeah.
So I think the graph is, if you look at it, I think it's kind of it's kind of an unfair representation in the later half, because this has just the first, this was, you know, we had the recession in 2008, and this is 5 years after the recession, and it's 7, and, you know, this graph is 7 years old. So
yeah.
How has this changed since this graph? You know, that was kind of an odd case, I guess, showing it at the recession.
Yeah, you know, and that's a great observation. And certainly is, I mean, I even went back and I overlaid different administrations, starting with Carter and Bush and, you know, Reagan and all that kind of stuff, trying to consider when that's put in, when administrations and policies changed. And it really doesn't have any really high degree of visible, obvious correlation. Okay, so Aidan, to your point, that is a fair observation, and unfortunately, that's one of the problems with statistics is you can't, you can't always get the ideal data that you'd like, which would be current data. So, you know, certainly there's probably an increase, but still the general trend has been down. There's no denying that the general trend is generally down. Even if there was a little bit of an uptick, it's still generally down. Yes, Amir, go ahead.
Well, in 1977, we did not have the technology that we have today. So since we have technology, that has lessened a lot of labor work. So definitely the startups are going to go down because more work is done by technology than humans probably. That could be another reason why we see the decline.
Well, and to take that argument and flip it around, because technology is so easy for an individual like you or me to create a business with nothing more than a laptop and an iPhone, the fact is it's never been easier to start a business than it is if you just have an idea. So the flip side of that is technology makes it so easy to start businesses. Why aren't there 10 times as many being started now as there were back then when it was so much more difficult? So that particular argument actually could go either way. So it's really hard to pin the decline on one thing or another. That's a great observation, but you see how it could go either way. So anyway, the point is, there is a general decline, but it's only a percentage decline. It's not necessarily an absolute decline.